9 o'clock this morning. All right. It is 6 minutes after the hour. 6 o'clock. Let's use send us hellos first thing this morning. First off the gate, Ray out in West Palm Beach, Florida. Good morning to you. Followed by Ken E. Good morning, Kenny. Oliver Man Warren. What are you doing up at 2 o'clock in the morning? Good morning to you. Maria Marva. Trevor Narima. Garth Sealy in Valencia. Good morning, Garth. DJ Ray out in Tampa. DX. Miss Ingrid, good morning to you. Dennis. Mo Gatens out in Aruka. Good morning to you. Sankofa, Ms. Maloney, Carol Guevara. Thank you so much for sending us hellos first thing this morning. We love to get your messages first thing this morning. It's a warm one. It is 26 degrees at both Piarco and Crown Point in Tobago. It's a warm one. And what's the weather going to be like for today? Generally sunny and breezy, with the likelihood of a few partly cloudy spells and showers over a few areas, especially during the afternoon, favoring Trinidad. Of course, this evening will be fair, apart from an odd isolated shower. Sahara dust is present in our atmosphere. So there you go. Forecast maximum temperature today will be 33 and 31 in Crown Point. All right, and let's see what some temps across the planets are. The planet, I should say, Washington is 11 degrees, Tampa is 17, London, you're sunny and 14. Everybody will be in the park today. Atlanta, 12. Let's see, New York, you're at 7. Orlando, 17. Miami, 22. Toronto, you're warming up at 4 degrees. All right, that's some temps there. All right, traffic-wise, on the highways and the byways, it's a bit busy this morning. It's a bit busy. Volume, I tell you. Volume getting into Port of Spain this morning. That's what you're going to face. Starting out in the east, you got traffic from Maloney to Piarco, Trin City to Uwe, and then Valsay in the Port of Spain. It is volume. Volume again from Sugar Guanas towards the interchange, and traffic just after Freeport towards Sugar Guanas. All right, San Fernando. Now, nothing really to tell you about. Out in the west, you're beginning to build, especially out of Maraval. All right, so that's a quick traffic update for you. Hope it helped you out in one way or the other. Mrs. Sack, good morning to you. Happy Thursday. So says Mrs. Sack. All right, good morning to you, Paul Richards. What's happening?
Good morning, Steve Khan.
Whoa, why are you so... Good morning, Steve Gunn.
And after you went through that whole list, I kind of fall asleep, so.
Oh, well, it's good to get some sleep. Go to bed early.
I did.
Ah, okay. All right, so good morning to you.
Good morning. 6:08. It's Thursday morning. Weekend's coming up. Can't wait for this weekend.
Why, what's happening this weekend apart from Eid?
I have to get up early. As
Oh,
early
yeah,
as early.
yeah. Well, I know Eid, they forecast that, well, they predict it may be on Friday, tomorrow. Of course, they'll just have to, across the globe, they'll look at the moon, and then there's also the scientific way that they will declare whichever day would be Eid. All right, but of course, our Eid holiday will be on Saturday. So we just have to wait and see this afternoon. They'll
So,
probably look at the moon.
hmm, wow.
Yeah.
So they haven't, well, they're waiting to sight the moon still?
Yeah. It all depends on the moon. There's two ways: the scientific way and the usual visual way. So they'll have to look at it in different parts of the world. They'll see it. So,
Hmm.
and then there will be the time difference and wherever the world would be. So, um,
Oh, yes. That's another consideration. That's
yeah,
right.
and then so Trinidad and pretty much the Caribbean, Guyana included. We'll just have to wait and see. I know by
Well,
this.
our holiday is Saturday. So this Saturday, is it?
Yeah, Eid
21st?
holiday is on Saturday.
Okay.
Eid could
Well,
fall on Saturday, Eid could fall on Friday.
hmm,
So, you know,
I have some videos to share. I mean, we didn't start this. I mean, this week was really bad. The last 2 days, or the
yeah.
last 24
Oh,
hours
geez, and ages.
have been very, very challenging.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think the population is just absolutely fed up now. And then we saw
Well,
the video. Is alleged that the car was stolen out by the Heath Crawford Stadium. And again, a van was hit innocently. Um, I don't know, four guys in the vehicle. The video went viral. I got like a gazillion times, and I don't know. I really don't know.
yeah, you just got to have to the point where you don't know anymore.
You don't
You
know.
don't know
And
what
the
to say.
thing
You don't
about
know
it,
what to do. You don't know how
and
to respond.
no, the sad part about it, Paul, let's look at that video that was sent earlier on this week where there was a robbery in a bar and people are just walking around like normal. We have gotten numb to it.
Got number one now.
We have gotten numb to it.
As I said earlier in the week, St. Lucia between 2010, when they murder rate was like about 10,
Hmm.
in 2015 it jumped to 30 thereabouts. I'm averaging here. I remember going by memory. And then it's now 60 and they're sounding bloody murder alarms at
Hmm.
60 a year,
Hmm.
which is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
You don't wait until it gets to the point of mayhem like Trinidad and Tobago. The good thing about it is that I see the police are already trying. I mean, we could those who are online, of course, we will be sharing videos, particularly in our first hour. Uh, Many of those viral videos that you may not have seen. This
And what are you doing
Yeah.
in that car?
this one, Open
Yeah.
Sneakers.
This is what I was talking
20?
about.
And what are
Yeah,
you doing in that car?
this is one.
Hmm.
Eh? You're going for something to eat, that your car? Who car is that?
This is one.
You're not sure who's the
Three
owner.
police apprehended.
Youth, just 20
Two
years
young
old.
men.
Hmm.
Who is the next man that foot
There's
break?
four in the
You know,
car.
Eh? What is his name?
and the police is talking to him there, of course. But I mean, you know, and
Everybody have a alias, man.
well, I guess if there's an intent, if there's an
I'm not
intent
hearing you over that.
and this is the other one who
Yeah.
they
With a
caught who
broken foot.
his foot is really badly damaged. You know, 21 and 20.
Yeah.
This leg is really badly damaged because they crashed the car. I'll play that video
Yeah.
in a short
Let's
while. They
load the
crashed the
volume
car.
on the video, Paul, so we can hear you.
Yeah, they crashed
Yeah.
the car into the stadium fence.
Yeah. Into a vehicle, into a van, and into the fence.
Yeah, so I don't know.
And they were driving recklessly on the shoulder, from what one video I saw. That they passed the individual on the foreshore, and an innocent vehicle.
I just don't know.
I just don't
You
know.
know,
I really don't know.
you don't know what to make of these young people anymore.
No, I don't. We don't. You know, and but there's also not that they'll be held in the prison, in police stations until in front of a magistrate. But I understand there's a bacchanal brewing within the prison as well.
What bacchanal
I'll,
is that?
yeah, I don't know. I'll get more information today. I'll get more information today. So, but there is something brewing in within the prisons. And our prisons are going to be filled, you know. And I don't know He's 20 years old. Another one was 18. Another one was 21. So they crashed the car and decided to run it, and police
Hmm.
apprehended them. So kudos to the TTPS. Kudos to you all. And I just don't know what to make of it again.
Well, nobody knows what to make of it.
The
I
small
didn't feel the police know what
percentage.
to make of it.
You go into a pharmacy to rob. Why you have to kill the individual?
Why you have
A
to rob?
young man with a family and a young daughter.
Yeah, yeah, that is particularly heart wrenching because the
You
man
know,
is there. You
yeah,
work your whole life. You go to school.
yeah.
You do what society tells you. You get your education.
Mm-hmm.
You try to open a business. You have your wife. You're trying to take
Mm-hmm.
care of your children or your child, and these miscreants come into your place, as you said, to rob you, and robbing you ain't enough. They take your
No, we gotta
life.
kill you.
Yeah, they take your life, and it is particularly heart wrenching. It is really heart wrenching, and this is the scene from the other the when this is what it looked like when the car crashed into the defense
Mm-hmm.
sense of but the you know. So this is where the car crashed into the stadium.
Yeah.
You know, so it's quite unfortunate. So good morning, Richard.
Innocent. Morning, Richie Rich.
Hi, good morning, guys. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and good morning to our listeners, wherever you are.
Yeah. Morning. We were
Yeah,
just chatting about that accident on the Fort Show.
Oh, I
The
saw those
train.
videos, and I saw the videos of them arresting a couple of
Yeah.
guys on it.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
All very young, and I mean early
yeah.
20s,
But
late.
and and then there's this, you know, where I mean, I don't know if it's a robbery because they just went in and shot up the place.
Yeah, I saw this. Look at that.
You know, so they didn't seem to have gone to rob anybody. You just go in, shoot, and run back out.
We'll run back out.
Was
I
anybody
don't know.
injured? Was anybody injured in that
I didn't
event?
get any reports
I
about
didn't get
that one. But
anything on
then
that.
when you've had five murders in separate incidents in the 24 to 36 hours,
Mm-hmm.
that could be one of them that just has not been classified, you know? Because there's so many breakings and enterings happening that you don't know, you don't get all the information about what ends up in a fatality because there's just so much mayhem coming at you in the news all the time, you know?
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah. And
it's
then
just a lot.
the shooting in Kufa by the car wash. I just sent you the video, Paul. I mean,
It's, you know, you get to the point where I don't know. It's a lot. That's what I would say. It's really a lot.
yeah, I mean, we have to live in a way where we always have to be on our guard. We have to look around. We come in home and open the gate
We have to be hyper vigilant all the time.
all the time. Your brain just
Yeah,
does not get to relax for a five.
yeah.
Interestingly enough, I had a discussion with my sister last night about all of that, and she was
Mm-hmm.
saying, um, crime really has to be a public health issue because it means there is a baseline of anxiety across the country with regard to am I going to be a criminal statistic of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
She said she heard Wendell talking about, I think maybe it was yesterday, about, when you arrive home, he tells people to drive in backwards. So you always have your eyes on the road,
Mm-hmm.
to reverse park, basically, into your driveway. So you always have your eyes on the road. And she says, and she was telling me that, that it, it dawned on her that in the US, and at least where she lives, that is not even a consideration. It's not even something that you think about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just drive in.
It's not even something that factors in your brain that I need to be alert because I'm now driving into my driveway. It's not something that by default you're thinking.
Because Richard, you're not supposed to live like that. That is not normal human living.
Exactly. And
It's
you
almost
know
like you're
it.
living in a war zone and you have to take extraordinary measures every single hour, every single minute of the day. That is not how people are supposed to live.
Yeah.
And I saw that news item. I saw the news item last night on news with regard to the young lady who died because of the stray bullet. This is let me go before
Oh
I go
my
into this.
God, yeah.
Yeah, I saw this. I saw this video,
Mm-hmm.
and the guy died here because
Mm-hmm.
they ran and they shot him. This was in Cuba.
Yes.
Yes.
Another example of criminality. And I remember when they used to have these movies long time when you know a teenager and growing up, and they have these movies with drive-by shootings and stuff. And I used to say, wow, that could never happen in Trinidad because we just don't have that kind of drive-by shooting. Uh-huh.
Mm.
Fast forward, and it's now become a sort of commonplace kind of issue. I don't want to say it's commonplace, but it happens. And this is just another example of it that you're watching right now.
But to the point you raised, Richard,
Right. So I
imagine
was watching.
you're sitting in your house and a stray bullet from gang warfare or exchange of gunfire hits you and you die. You are in.
Well, according to the story, the gunfire started out because they were interviewing one of the members of the family, and she was saying that the gunfire started wherever on the road, and then like the gunman came to shoot whatever particular guy. The guy ran from wherever and ran down their street. So the guy is running after the gunman is running after the guy, shooting after him, and shooting after him now. Her sister is coming out of her bedroom, and a bullet pierces the window, pierces the door, enters through her neck, and exits through her forehead. So
Wow.
they hear the bullets and stuff. So she comes out into the living room, and I think there's a young child, like a young daughter, maybe about a toddler is the impression I got, and a grandmother. I think it was. She said, "I'm subject to correction." And they were in the TV room, and she said, "Okay, they're safe." And then she went check on her sister. I believe it is her sister. And when she saw on the ground. She said she was about to tell her, "No, you could get up." Like the bullets, she thought she was down on the ground, ducking from the bullets. And she said when she saw the pool of blood, she said she knew instantly that she was dead. But the
Wow.
emotion, and I mean, she's talking, and the emotion coming from her, she's not like in tears or anything, but maybe fighting back the tears,
But
which is
Richard,
all.
she's in shock also.
And
She
it's
just
heart
died in a brutal
wrenching.
manner.
It is heart wrenching to watch, heart wrenching. And she's saying, when she said the prime minister and the minister of national security have to step up. That as citizens, I'm paraphrasing her, but as citizens, along the lines of what you're saying, Paul, we can't live like this.
No, you can't live like this. This is not how you're supposed to live.
It it
And
was
and,
just
and we,
heart
as I was
wrenching
telling
to
Steve
watch.
earlier on, we 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 are shell shocked now. But St. Lucia is sounding the alarm at 60 murders a year. They are crying bloody murder. We can't deal with this at 60 murders a year. We would not be dissatisfied. We would not be happy that we had 60 murders a year, but we would not be dissatisfied that it's that low. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Nobody's happy with one murder and one life lost, but I mean, we are at 605 last year, and we've uh, placated ourselves for many years with, well, it's gang related. Well, it's in a hot spot. Well, that has nothing to do with me. Well, that is them people fighting. But now, there's no differentiation now. You don't have to be involved in any criminal activity or around any criminal to be killed, robbed, assaulted. And we're not even talking about the rapes and assault of women that happen basically every day, that the women
Hmm.
just don't want to go through the re-traumatization of the reporting it. You understand? And having to live with that stigma or stain, although they did nothing wrong, of society saying she's the one who got raped, you know. You understand? So they just try to bury it in their subconscious and move on with their lives because reporting it and going through the trauma of one, you're going through the trauma of reporting it and the re-traumatization, and there's little or no chance that your perpetrator will be caught.
Yeah.
So you ask yourself, what's the point? Sadly. And it's just, we're not supposed to live like this. We're not supposed to live like this. You know, and the commissioner of police is saying, well, the police is committed to bringing the perpetrators to justice.
Well, I think I can't remember if it was TV6 or CNC3 last night. We're talking about the June benchmark that I think.
It was TV6 because they had Martin De Leon after.
Oh, okay.
And the
So,
question was, do you think they will see a reduction in crime by the June deadline? But didn't the commissioner walk back that statement somewhat?
I think well, I don't think she walked it back completely. So, but you know, it's and two of these shootings that took place earlier this week, two of those shootings were in Arima. One on Temple Street, and then this one on Daniel Chase. Because I think two people died in that Daniel Chase shooting. I'm subject to correction, but I think the guy he was chasing did die too. I'm not sure, but certainly the collateral damage of this young lady dying in her own house, which you want to be a place of safety. You think it's a place of safety.
Which should be at least your last refuge of safety.
Yep. And two shootings in this week in Arima. And I remember last year, remember Arima had the anomaly or the ridiculous and absolute shameful categorization of placing first in terms of incidents or something like that. I can't remember what it was in some TTPS statistics. And the mayor that we have in Arima said, "Oh, they're doing stuff. They have spoken to they're liaising with the Arima Borough Police because Arima has two police forces in a sense. You have the National Police and you have the Arima Borough Police. You're dealing with both of them, and the crime statistics in Arima will go down by November. This is November last year. Okay, November last year. I don't know what
I
the
honestly don't
hell
think
is going
I don't
on
think
in the
it'll take that
Arima
moment
Borough
to talk anymore,
Council.
you know.
I don't know what the hell is going on with the Arima Borough Council. I know a lot of Arimians are irritated and are particularly irritated with the mayor because they don't know him. I'm not knowing, but I shouldn't say they're irritated with him because they don't know him. They're irritated with what Arima is becoming. Temple Street has always been a volatile street, a street where incidents happen. I can't say that police can be everywhere all the time. Obviously, that's untenable. But you must have intelligence on the ground of knowing what's going on. And there seems to be no intelligence on the ground as to what is going on in different places. And I'm not speaking about Arima here. I'm talking about generally. Because the reality is what we are seeing as citizens is that we don't feel safe. That's the reality. We feel that you and the security infrastructure is not meeting our needs.
And your life and the lives of your family members are in constant, imminent danger.
Yeah.
That's how we feel now. And that is not paranoia at this stage. You could have called it paranoia 10, 15 years ago. It is not paranoia now. When people are driving in behind you into your garage, robbing you, when you are getting shot by stray bullets and dying, when children are in playing fields, playing football and getting shot and killed, when you are in a car park in a mall and a stray bullet grazes a child, that feeling unsafe every minute of the day is not a state of paranoia. It is the reality of the tension and the anxiety we live with because of the inability of the authorities to deal with the crime despite promise after promise, billions of dollars spent, and a million crime strategies. And that's a reality in Trinidad and Tobago. And then somebody will go, well, Crime is multidimensional. We know that.
Yeah.
There's several factors. We know that. It's
We'll
not the
get a
police
hold on
alone. It's an
crime.
all of society approach. We know that. But you know what? There are agencies that are funded to deal with the immediacy of crime. Okay? Yes, it's an all of society approach. Yes, everybody has a part to play. To me, those are deflective comments to take the away from the issue that the police are not effective in this country. And there's an element, a part of the criminal element that don't care about police presence, feel that they can continue with impunity and operate in a space where they don't think they're going to be caught en masse. Yes, we see some arrests and charges, but not commensurate to the kind and level of crime we're seeing on a consistent basis. And that's the problem. The criminals don't afraid police, sadly.
No, they
It's
don't.
got to the point where long ago when you put the army with the police, the defense force, they used to have a little more respect for this. They ain't business no more.
Well, you do have army and police. I know
Yeah, but I'm
at least
saying before, when they saw TT Defense Force and Army, it used to add some kind of added bolster. Now, that don't even seem to be working.
It's just sad that I left the house this morning. I don't know if I'm going back home this afternoon. You have to think that way.
well, I mean, I don't think that way, but
You know what I think that way? You're driving,
I
you
don't
have your
think that way.
family, you
I
have your
mean,
family in a gray van coming out by Hazley Crawford Stadium, and everything is hunky dory, and bam, a vehicle with individuals slam into you. Luckily, unfortunately, no one died. But you never know. You hit the road, you don't know. You're going to a
We
store,
have,
you don't know what's going to happen. Supposed to come and rob me in the
and
store.
you know what is really annoying about all of this is that Trinidad and Tobago is such a beautiful place.
It's a gorgeous place.
It has such
Our
beautiful
culture is
people.
absolutely amazing.
Has such beautiful people. It has such beautiful scenery. It is a beautiful place, and this is the blot against it that we have to fix.
and we can't seem to fix.
We got to fix it.
Yesterday, the Joint Select Committee on National Security had the DPP and the Deputy DPP before us. And I asked some questions. Did you know? So, because when you listen to the issue of the staffing and then the exchange, the missive sent by the Chief Justice in response to the original comment by the DPP about staffing issues and the Judicial Legal Services Commission having the remit to appoint state prosecutors. And I asked a simple question. Do you have an HR manager? Because you have to have assessments. You have to know, do you have an HR manager? 'Cause when I thought about it, there's clearly an HR issue, you understand, in that office. There are two HR officers, and the Deputy Director of Public Prosecution, Miss Honorary Paul, is the person who has to take on that. When you dig deeper, they don't have an accountant.
The
How
line
can
ministry,
you?
the line ministry is their support, which is crazy.
Yeah, but internal to a significant critical division,
Yeah, and that's what I'm
like the
saying. That's
office of the
crazy.
DPP.
That's crazy. You should have your own
No,
HR unit.
so you have people coming in, you have recruitment to do, you have recommendations to make, you have performance assessments to do, you have attrition, people who leave, you have to have a database of your staff flow in and out of the organization, and they have a 50% attrition rate, by the way. You have a staff shortage to begin with, 58 out of 137 approved cases. You have over 3,000 matters that you're prosecuting right now. You have a backlog of decades, and you have no HR manager to deal with what is an HR crisis. And you have no accountant. They get the allocation and the budget. You have no accountant to make sure that, so the DPP and the Deputy DPP are doing administrative work. How is operating a space like that? How? So the DPP is asking for its own line item and financial autonomy, which I do have a problem with. well, I was going to say who we have coming next, which is going to be an interesting thing, but I don't know if I'm allowed to say it yet. Two significant stakeholders in the criminal justice system. And to his credit, DPP Gaspard was asked by Dr. Rudal Munidal about the missive sent by the Chief Justice as acting at that point as head of the Judicial Legal Services Commission. And I'm glad he didn't bite and continue an exchange of a public exchange of discord. You understand? He said his thought of what's in the best public interest and answering, although he could have, would not have been. Like, I really applaud that. But they really have to solve those basic management structural issues. They said they tried to get an HR manager, but if you're offering $15,000 at that level for an HR manager, who going to take that job? Given the gravity of the job and the division you're in, because it's the DPP's office. So you also in that position, even as HR manager, could be subject to certain risks. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And you offering 15,000. So while they recruited and interviewed people, when you get to this, so what's the salary you're offering? 15,000. Bye. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So they need to deal with these, and they may seem like insignificant management issues, but they significantly affect the operation of any.
Yeah. I don't think it's insignificant at all. I think in an institution that has such a prominent
Critical human.
constitutional place, that you have to go to your line ministry to sort out HR issues in a very
And hire people.
in a very day-to-day way is
To
ridiculous.
buy a printer,
Yeah.
to buy a table if it go bad.
No, there should be some level of better structuring of those kinds of internal units that you need to help position the DPP to be better performing in terms of what they have to do. Which are basically, I think, is the request that Roger Gaspard, senior counsel, was doing yesterday.
So there were quite a lot of it. There was a little conversation also on the building, and there were 6 reports on the building, and a latest report is expected. I got the sense, I could be wrong, that they are moving to resolve the issues. Now, to me, it was a stupid location for a building anyhow. You understand? For an office like that, by an intersection that always has traffic, where the car park is in the basement, and if you have an emergency, I don't know how you're getting out past police escort. You understand? But that's academic now. But it seems like they're moving towards some sort of resolution in terms of occupying the building and requesting staff and doing. He said he got 16 attorneys in the last 6 months or so, but they're all out of that, and they're in the 50 that they have here, are junior who have little or no court experience. So if you don't have court experience and you're not able to prosecute the case on behalf of the state effectively, you know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And the HR issues must be affecting those who are there also, because if you have no HR manager and 2 HR officers who I got the impression they're not particularly senior, you're going to have demoralized people working and leaving often. You understand? As you know, you understand? If you don't have that really profound and strong HR component in a division, in any organization.
Yeah, you need a HR unit that's dedicated to dealing with those issues, because HR issues crop up all the time, every single day. Every single day you have HR issues.
From staff who's sick to staff who demoralized to staff who have conflict to manager subordinate issues. How you can operate with an HR manager.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very telling yesterday. It was very eye-opening. There was some startling information also off camera.
Hopefully all of this moves towards remedying what their problems are. Yeah.
I see MP for Barataria San Saddam Hussein is raising an issue. I don't know. With the House of Representatives being carded to sit tomorrow, the day before Eid. And he's saying it's insensitive. And I know, if I'm not mistaken, people correct me if I'm wrong. Muslims start preparation for Eid and breaking the fast as early as the day before Eid. Is that correct? I think so. Not so?
I'm not sure.
Because it's a breaking of the fast. So I don't know if you're
I'm
gonna
not sure.
catch
I'm
me.
not sure. I'm not sure.
By my memory, because I have Muslim friends, the after the month of holy month of Ramadan and you breaking the fast, there's a lot of preparation that goes into breaking the fast and the types of observances that you must heading in. And unless the sitting is going to be an hour or two alone, it may impede Muslim members of parliament from getting to their various locations and participating in what is a very, very important part of their religious um, belief and practice. So I hope they can resolve it because we really have to have that kind of religious sensitivity. Somebody suggested that if it were, would you have a sitting on Christmas Eve or the eve of Diwali? You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to think about it.
Oh, I hear
Did we ever
you.
have a sitting on Christmas Eve? I can't remember.
I have no clue.
Yeah, I can't remember. But I hope they resolve it because it's another point of bickering that we don't need in the country. And I'm not saying bickering to diminish Mr. Hussein's point that he raised, but I mean, talking about the way we resolve issues now,
Yeah.
I don't know. Condolences to the 5 people who lost family members by murder over the last 24 to 36 hours. I don't know what to say again. And I don't think the commissioner's assurances, with the greatest of respect, people hear it and they say, okay, you're going to bring the people to just justice. All right. Okay, Mrs. Harewood, Mrs. Christopher Harewood, we hear you.
Hmm.
Um,
The
just
population
like the
is just
June.
fed up.
Sorry?
I said the population is just fed up like myself.
Well, and it's not even about Mrs. Harewood, Christopher. It's the inability of the apparatus, in particular police,
Hmm.
to stymie this level of criminality, which is so rampant now. If it's not the home invasions, it's the murders,
Hmm.
it's the low detection rates, it is just the allegations of corruption of so many officers.
Hmm.
It is the police at this stage bickering over whether to turn on a body cam or not.
Yeah. And we need training how
If
to
you
put on a
can't,
body
if you
cam.
can't solve what to me is a low hanging fruit, like use your body cam all the time, how you get to the higher order operations? You understand?
Yep. I see Sam Cooper sent me a message this morning about that same body cam issue. And it's a long post, but what he said, pass law for compulsory use of body cams by all out on or out of office duty. Law must include punishable charges for not wearing body cams, turning off body cams while on active duty or call of duty, deleting body cam data. Fines must be discharged from duty without pay and 1 year imprisonment. Fines for tampering with and or deleting the recording evidence in a body cam must be discharged from duty, 3 years imprisonment, loss of all benefits and pensions, loss of all titles, badges, stripes, office, etc. Drone quad unit and canine unit. As a top priority, establish a drone quad and canine units to be utilized in all responses to emergency investigations, warrants, raids, roadblocks, searches, to be utilized in school zones, transport hubs, malls, city and town centers. Compulsory police status limit. Compulsory police status unit by an independent agency, random drug tests, random lie detection tests, routine psychological, psychiatric, physiological tests of all officers and all ranks, undercover and plainclothes units. And he's making suggestions, I guess, with regard to the reform of the TTPS. And those are
Yeah.
just some of what he's
Let's
suggesting.
let's streamers are wonderful. Let's take more into this lady who's following
Vonnet,
us right now.
Bigford.
Right.
Morning,
Morning,
Von.
Vonnet.
Hey, good morning, Vonette.
And another great singer,
Yes.
Nisha Guy.
Morning, Nisha.
So
Good
thank
morning,
you all for
Nisha.
being with us.
Yeah.
We stream every morning, Monday to Friday, 6 to 8 a.m. on YouTube. on power102digital.com or power102fm.com, sorry. Facebook, LinkedIn, and Amazon Live.
Yeah. Good morning to Carl Jack as
We have a
well.
surprise for you starting next week. Should we announce it now?
No, 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 no. We don't mind. No,
Why?
no, not yet. Not yet.
Why shouldn't we
Right.
announce it now?
All right. If you want to go, go ahead.
We'll announce it on Monday. It's your comedy thing, I am, Steve.
I see that. But let's also say good morning, good
Or we'll
night to
announce it
Ray.
tomorrow. Or
I
you say,
thought
why do you say we
We
announce
can
it
do it
tomorrow?
tomorrow. We can do it tomorrow. Tomorrow is
Yeah,
Friday.
and
I
why
thought the
wouldn't I
thought
announce it?
And
process
Because
you
the
know
was
what?
reason to be because
include
I haven't called Wendell
mindful.
yet, and it's my to call Wendell yesterday and told him I don't
Yeah,
want
well,
Wendell to
then
be
we
on the
can't.
air.
We
You
can't.
understand?
Good morning to
So
Mo
I'll call
Gaines as
Wendell after
well.
and tell him, and then we'll announce it because we'll be
Correct.
improper for
Let's,
Wendell to hear it online.
yes, it
So
would be.
Wendell, I'll call you and let you know what the development is,
Yeah. So good
which I
morning
think
to
we
you
all
all.
love.
Good morning to Rena Budu Jennings, CJ in New York as well. Good morning to you guys. Thank you so much for joining us on Power 102
Look,
Dish.
we have somebody in Baghdad, Iraq, Carl Jack.
Yeah, I feel like
Good morning,
across here
Carl.
too, you know.
What's it like over there?
Same as Trinidad.
Wow, Steve. That was uncalled for. But I
Yeah,
understand your
yeah.
sentiment. Richard, do you have
No,
newspapers? Let me get onto that.
I am
Yes,
really
sir.
I
fed up
understand
this
you. I
morning.
understand your frustration. You feel
I'm
like it's
really,
just
really
a
fed
war
up
zone
this
and through.
morning. And
Yes,
And through
I do have newspapers, so I
yeah.
can go through it.
But
I
I'll
can
tell
go.
you something.
the,
Yeah?
and the question should be: do you think the sitting of Parliament should be cancelled in lieu of? Do you agree with that,
Hmm?
I have
or
possible
do you want to go
questions.
with another? Well, send me a question so I can type it up now, please.
No,
Yeah.
well, let me, well, we could decide whether that question you're suggesting. I have, maybe you should go with that question. I was half asleep when I was writing these things.
You know,
I think,
you wrote like a
I think
doctor.
I was
You don't have to
watching
be half
news.
asleep for that.
I, I think I was watching news when I typed up some of them. The one that makes the most sense, and as like I was half asleep, the one that
It's
makes the
not you
most
watching
sense.
news, It's the drink in your hand. Don't blame it on the news. Blame it on the drink.
No, no, there's no drink in
Blame
my
it
hand
on the
un-
alcohol.
unless it's coffee or something. Um, no, we could go with yours.
All right. Good morning
Let me
to
crack it.
Bernice McDonald. Good morning to
Are you
Leonard
feeling hopeful
Nightfall.
that the crime situation will be resolved? But yeah,
Carl said it's in Iraq. It's okay. We take it. He takes it day by day.
Day by
All
day.
right, Carl.
Yeah,
Be safe out there.
same as
Thanks for
Trinidad
hopping
then.
on. All right,
Same as
Richard.
Trinidad.
Papers.
are you hopeful that the crime situation will get better post the crime conference? That was one of my polls. But anyway, Daily Express for today, and
I'll
I
go with
have
that.
one, you know, but
of course, today is Thursday, April 20th, 2023. Murder spree is the headline on the Daily Express. So we're giving you the headline so you know what the daily newspapers um, have as their trending number one stories, which is tends to be the headline. Murder spree. Malabar, innocent woman killed in wild shooting, which we discussed. Malabar, man escapes while girlfriend dies. Aranguez, pharmacist murdered in his car. That was another tragic story on news last night. Claxton Bay, businessman gunned down. I don't know about that one particularly. And Cuba, man walks to death after phone call. And there are pictures of some of the deceased. Really disheartening headline this morning.
And remember, it's a headline to us, but there's a family that's in distress for years to
Yep,
come, probably forever.
yep.
forever.
DPP accuses AG of interference. That's a subheadline.
And he
Uh,
stressed not this age here. Contextualize. The papers put a headline there as if it's this AG. He
yeah,
said
yeah,
a
yeah.
previous AG. He didn't name. He said a previous AG. So which papers is that?
That's the Express. On the back page of the Daily Express this morning, Team Headley skipper the Silver Belts unbeaten century Rescue Act tries series opens in the balance after first day. So that's the front and back page of the Daily Express for this morning. I'll move on to the Trinidad and Tobago Newsday. What headline did they go with it? I'll tell you. 5 murders in 12 hours take toll to 176. All bleak, depressing news on this Thursday morning. Woman killed by stray bullet, and there is a picture of the young lady. Remember, we talked about this incident this morning. This is a picture of her.
Yeah.
Very,
Condolences to her
very
family. Oh my
sad,
God.
heart-wrenching
Condolences
story.
to her family.
That
You
yeah,
could
and
just imagine what they're going through.
I can't even imagine it, Paul. I mean, you think you're in the safety of your house, and then this happens. The ugly of Trinidad comes home to you.
There's no safe place.
Yeah. On the back page of the Newsday, TT under 20s lose 5-0 to Puerto Rico, fail to advance in CONCACAF World Champs. World Cup dream ends. Oh, that's also sad. On a different level. Sport heads, school sports on decline as fewer teachers volunteer. All of that is on the front of the back of the Newsday. And finally, I'll get to the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian for today. Front page, what did the Guardian go with? I'll tell you. DPP breaks silence and impasse with AG and CJ. High road is the headline that the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian went with. Says he didn't want to engage in public bacchanal. Inability to hire staff still his biggest woe. Woman hit by stray bullet among 5 killed in 12 hours. And there are inset photos of some of the deceased. On the back page, under 20 women warriors lose 5-0 to Puerto Rico. Dream ends. And that's it for our 3 dailies this morning. Just giving you an idea of what's on the front page and what's on the back page. Yeah.
That's my suggested question scrolling. Are you hopeful that the crime situation in TNT
Hopeful or expect?
will get better?
will get better after the 2 days crime symposium?
Yep.
Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's get into our results of our morning poll from yesterday. Right. And our results are, it's taking kind of long this morning. Here we are. All right, here we go. Do you agree with the passing new laws specific to home invasions with harsher penalties? Results? 85% said yes. Passing of new laws. 85% said yes. All right. Again, our morning poll for this morning, you'll call us at 222-8255. Toll free North Americans, 866-525-1099. And of course on YouTube and our message board on our website and our app. Our question.
Let's say good morning to the chairman of the Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation, Kwasi Robinson, who is looking at us on Facebook, and his wife, Shelley. Good morning, Shelley.
Kwasi,
Thank you
Shelley,
both for being
morning.
with us.
Hi, good morning.
Thanks for being with us this morning.
Good morning, guys.
Right.
Morning,
We
Kwasi.
should have him on. We should have him on next week or something to find out what's going on in Tunapuna Piarco and how he feels about how the corporation is able to impact crime at all, in terms of the interaction
Yeah,
with the
Tunapuna is a hotspot too. In
Yeah,
fact,
well,
where's-
is there anywhere
where's
that's not a hotspot now?
Where is not a hotspot?
So, our question is, are you hopeful the crime situation in TNT will improve following the 2-day crime symposium? Yes or no?
You heard it. That's our poll this morning. 222-TALK, 222-8255. That's the number you can call us at. North Americans, you can call us toll-free at 866-525-1099. I'll repeat that one more time for North Americans. 866-525-1099. And of course, people on the web and the app, you know what to do. You can vote via those platforms by going to the messaging portal on those respective platforms to say yay or nay. Our poll one more time this morning. Are you hopeful that the crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago will improve post the 2-day crime conference that recently took place? Are you hopeful that the crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago will improve post that crime conference? That's our poll this morning. What says you?
Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Steve. Sadly, no.
Thank you, Dinsley. Mr. Carapo, no. Shaka, No. Ken E. No. Maraval on the road. Nope. Trevor Narima. Yes. Mogins and Naruka. Hell no. Um, let's see. Leonard Naipaul out in North Carolina, Greenville. Good morning to you as well. Carol Guevara, absolutely. Trinity in Boston, yes. Kenny in Harlem, no. Launch Park, no. Eartha Young, good morning to you as well. Thank you so much for joining us on the Paul Breakfast Show. Once again, our morning poll, Richie Rich.
Are you hopeful that the crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago will get better post the crime conference, the two-day crime conference that took place recently? So are you hopeful that the crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago will get better coming out of that crime conference, of course, and whatever measures are put in place, I guess?
All right. Eartha Young says no. Thank you, Eartha. All right. 222-8255. Paula, no. CJ New York, no. All right. Give us a call. Give us a message. Thank you so much for being logged on. Cohen Duke. He says, blessed morning to you guys. Keep up the good work, y'all, on a daily basis. Thank you so much, Cohen Duke. Tell us where you're viewing us from as well. We'd like to know. Yeah. Rena Buru Jennings says, yes, I am hopeful. Thank you so much.
222-TALK, 222-8255. North Americans, 866-525-1099. Absolutely toll free. Of course, people in other parts of the planet, 1-868-222-TALK, 222-8255. And of course, people on the web and the app, you know what to do. Look at these. Look at them. Look at them.
I know.
These are just examples. Paul is just giving you
And have you
examples
playing on our channels, yes.
of some of the crime events that have taken place.
Beauty Culture. Morning, Beauty Culture. Says, no, I am not. Rampage. That's a sad face, but he says no. Miss Ingrid. Sadly, no. I worry about my many family members. Of course, she's in Tucson, Arizona. I don't know what to say. Yes. What could we say?
Our poll this morning, are you hopeful that the crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago is going to improve post the crime conference that took place earlier this week? That's our poll this morning. Are you hopeful that the crime situation is going to improve? That's our poll. What do you think?
Yeah. Good morning, caller.
Morning, gentlemen. My answer is yes.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate you taking the time out. All right. 222-8255. Toll free, North Americans. 866-525-1099.
Are you hopeful that the crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago is going to improve post the crime conference?
Yeah, Cohen Duke says nothing is going to come out of the 2-day symposium on crime. Cohen Duke says no. Darren Thompson says yes, it must be. Beefy Smith, no, I am not hopeful. Leonard Naipaul says, I'm 60, not in my lifetime. Joy says yes. All right. We got to run to our 7 o'clock major news. Yeah.
Let's wish
Gregory.
Avril get well soon. Avril is a bit under the weather. So that's wish.
Oh,
Oh,
Evie,
no.
come on, get better soon.
Come on,
Right,
I miss
Evie.
you, Evie. I miss you, Evie.
Yeah, I have to watch Gregory. Come on. Let's
The
get into our major
newscasters,
news.
newscasters have to start being on camera. Just saying.
Yeah. I can turn my laptop around.
But not Gregory's not built for on camera.
Clearly,
come on,
today
You
Paul.
is
can't have
not.
Gregory and Stephen is the same one on camera. There's only
Oh,
one
come
camera.
on.
You know, Gregory, we had to use a
There's
wide
only one
lens.
Being
camera.
on
Can't fit
time.
Gregory and Steve. Okay?
I'm being unkind.
On that
News is
note,
next.
news starts now.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
Office of the DPP remains constrained as it is revealed there is no senior human resource manager. The DPP himself, meanwhile, suggests that his office should be removed from the financial overview of the Ministry of the Attorney General to ensure independence. And the police commissioner responds to a spate of overnight murders by calling on citizens to provide any information they can. Details in a moment. Good morning. With your news to this hour, I am Gregory McBurney. There is no senior human resource manager at the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. This development was highlighted by the Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions, Joan Honoré Paul, during yesterday's sitting of the Joint Select Committee on the Criminal Justice System. Director of Public Prosecutions, Roger Gaspard, revealed that his office remains severely hamstrung by the human resource issue, including that the office does not have a HR manager to deal with the hiring and management of staff. Both Gaspard and Deputy DPP Honoré Paul highlighted the human resource management challenge that continued to impede staffing allocation as they responded to questions from the JSC members. Honoré Paul said the impact of not having an HR manager has been significant, adding that she has had to take control of human resource responsibilities due to the absence of a manager in this field.
When the director indicated that HR is my forte, that is a fallback position because my forte is prosecution. Because we do not have an HR manager or a person who is dedicated for that, I have to take on a lot of
Would you be
the
surprised
HR.
to find that people listening to this are shocked by this in an office as important as the office of the DPP? That HR, HRM is not a priority given the articulations of the Honorable DPP about staff shortages, the comments of the JLSC, and the impact this is having on the workflow in the office of the DPP?
I would not be surprised to find that people are shocked by that.
Meanwhile, Mr. Gaspard suggested that the DPP's office should be given its own line item in the national budget, independent of its line ministry, the Ministry of the Attorney General. This as he alleged that a former AG used his power as line minister to cancel a staff retreat held by the office of the DPP as a means of fueling his conflict with the then DPP. Gaspard said if the DPP's office is to be truly independent, as mandated in the TNT Constitution, it cannot be right that office expenditure must depend on the complexion of his relationship with a particular AG. Gaspard stated that while legally the DPP must apprise the AG on any new developments, the AG actually has no place in the DPP's decision-making process. Hours after 5 people were gunned down in separate incidents across Trinidad, Police Commissioner Erla Christopher said her officers are prepared to bring the perpetrators to justice. In a media release issued yesterday, Christopher admitted the spate of murders was concerning, but maintained that police were firm in their resolve to fight crime. She said while she was aware the murders affected the national psyche, strategies are being designed and introduced to reduce serious crimes, including murders. Despite boasting of the TTPS's seizure of more than 200 illegal firearms and almost 7,000 rounds of ammunition for the year, she called on the public to also do their part in solving the murders. She added that while police from the Homicide Bureau of Investigations were continuing their inquiries into each murder, the public also had a responsibility to provide information. Sports and culture should be given greater priority as they are means which can help young people direct their energies in positive activities. It's a view expressed by Chairman of the Public Accounts Enterprises Committee, Wade Mark, at yesterday's inquiry into an examination of the audited accounts and the financial statements of the sports company. This is for the financial year 2020 and follow-up on the implementation of the recommendations in the committee's second report. Chairman Mark said, with crime being a serious issue, sport can be used to create job opportunities, sport tourism, diversification of the economy, and aid in the development of school children. Meanwhile, Chairman of the Sport Company of Trinidad and Tobago, Douglas Camacho, said the arena should be given the resources required in order to ensure the nation's development. He said sport and culture are cited as meaningful avenues which can be used to promote the nation's profile.
I see sport as a critical vehicle for the development of the human being. And by definition, if we could divert more human capital towards it, qualified and competent human capital, more resources, financial, etc., I think what we will see is not just crime. I was a little disappointed that big symposium over the last couple of days and sport, in my mind, and culture, and I'll make a plug here for culture, weren't specifically identified. I don't know what they would call it, a workshop, a little session, specifically using that as two tools. It is true to say that in the Caribbean, what has defined us most in internationalize is our sporting people and our cultural people, more so than our business people and all the other people.
Careful management of the government's National Insurance Pension Fund is underscored as critical, especially in light of the serious economic times and plans announced to increase the pension age from 60 to 65 years. It's a point highlighted by economist Dr. Vaness James while speaking on Power 102 Digital's Afternoon Power Drive yesterday. Dr. James suggested the appointment of an independent committee could be considered by the ruling administration, which will ensure certain decisions needed for improved performance of the fund. He said this committee can also explore the possibility of hiring experienced fund managers to ensure the money is placed in the best performing financial plans.
You're going to have to recruit high quality fund managers, and they don't come cheap, and that is part of the consideration with respect to the costs of running a fund. And then, of course, there's passive management of a fund, and that is where you could choose strategically to just pin your movement of investment instruments closely to the movement of some particular index.
You are listening to the news to 7 a.m. on Power 102 Digital. Now for a look at what's happening internationally. In the U.S., 2 teenage boys and a man have been charged with murder after shooting at a 16th birthday party in Alabama that killed 4 and injured 32 over the weekend. Brothers Tyreek McCullough, 17 years old, and 16-year-old Travis McCullough were arrested on Tuesday night. 20-year-old Wilson Lamar Hill was held yesterday afternoon. The suspects are each being charged with 4 counts of reckless murder. More charges are expected in connection with Saturday night's attack. Officials said the 3 suspects are from Tuskegee, Alabama, which is about a 40-minute drive from the crime scene in Datesville. The 2 teenagers will be tried as adults, an automatic requirement for anyone 16 years or older charged with murder in the state. And now for a look at the weather forecast. For the period today until midnight, Trinidad and Tobago generally sunny and breezy with the likelihood of a few partly cloudy spells and showers over a few areas, especially during the afternoon and favoring Trinidad. Tonight will be generally fair apart from the odd isolated showers. Persons are asked to take note that Saharan dust is present in the atmosphere, and those who are sensitive to this change in air quality should take the necessary precautions. Seas are moderate with waves up to 1.5 meters in open waters and below 0.5 meter in sheltered areas. The forecast maximum temperature for today, 33 degrees Celsius in Trinidad, while Tobago can expect a high of 31. Currently it's 27 degrees Celsius. At Piarco, 28 degrees Celsius at Crown Point in Tobago. And now to recap the headlines. The office of the DPP remains constrained as it is revealed there is no senior human resource manager. The DPP himself, meanwhile, suggests that his office should be removed from the financial overview of the Ministry of the Attorney General to ensure true independence. And the police commissioner responds to a spate of overnight murders between Tuesday and Wednesday by calling on citizens to provide any information they can. Well, that's what's making your news to this hour on Power 102 Digital. I am Gregory McBurney. Have yourself a great morning.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All right, thank you so much, Gregory, for our major news. Of course, he'll join us again come 8 o'clock for our news brief. All right. Getting back to our morning poll, where we'll give you the results as soon as Richard comes back on. It is, are you hopeful that the crime situation is going to improve following the two-day regional symposium? All right, which was held on Monday and Tuesday. I got some extra votes here. I got Joy's. Well, I did Joy already. I got Big Guy saying no. DJ Ray says no. Conference was a waste of time. Rampage. Oh, you voted already, Rampage. Miss Ingrid, I'm saddened. Steve's. AV, CJ from New York says get well soon. Ms. Maloney says no. Anthony Tinto says, guys, 2 days is not enough. Kerwin Duke is from La Hoqueta. Good morning to you all as well. All right, so let's get the results of our poll there. Richie Rich, do I have any more
I
coming?
know usually you give traffic reports. You're not doing that again.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to do that.
All right, so you're
We'll
not
give,
doing
the,
that again.
give the results and the traffic after.
Okay.
I don't need to give traffic. Yes, where you think you're going to get traffic, you will get traffic. That's your traffic report. It's heavy.
Are you hopeful that the crime situation in TNT will get better post the crime conference? And we had 26 people voting in the allotted time. Of the 26 of you that voted, 19 of you said no, and 7 of you said yes. So 19 said no, 7 said yes. Of course, you can continue to vote in this poll throughout the day, through all programming, and we'll give you the final result tomorrow morning, which will be Friday. Of course, the weekend begins tonight, people, at the second after midnight. So, we celebrate the weekend here on this Power Breakfast Show like no other.
Yeah.
There's a question I wanted to suggest for tomorrow, but I didn't want to craft it in a way that it undermines public confidence in the police service. But the commissioner asked for the public to give information. You understand? As any commissioner would do, as part of the police gathering information and data. And a lot of the times, the public is reluctant to participate because they don't trust the police. I mean, we've heard this before on several occasions, and that's the sad reality we have to deal with. So I want to craft a question tomorrow dealing with that, but that doesn't seek to undermine. You understand? But it'll the few people whoever wants to provide information to the police in hopefully a confidential manner. Good morning, Gavin Hero.
Yes.
You're
Good morning, Gavin. You're muted.
Unmute. Life take back the phone, yes?
Yeah, boy. The phone's gone, boy.
Life take back the phones, boy. She said, leave my thing.
I don't use my phones at all.
Gavin, you're muted.
Yeah, he knows that. He's trying to figure it out. And too bad
Take the microphone to it.
Of course, we're going to speak to Gavin Hero shortly. And of course, our topic this week, of course, is the crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago. Of course, coming out of the crime symposium, which reflects the crime situation across the Caribbean, the English-speaking Caribbean, and how different islands are battling with this particular part of national life in 2023.
Some battling more than some.
Some battling more than some.
Well, we battling more than most.
So well, of course, we are looking at our space and how do we find solutions to deal with the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, we have given, yeah, he's going to have to re-enter and reboot.
Yeah.
But I mean, we come up with all manner of solutions. I know for me, one of the main things that I felt they should not have disbanded was air support. And I felt that air support needed to be more integrated in terms of response to criminal offenses.
Correct.
Because Trinidad and Tobago has just so many roads, criminal elements have to use those roads. And if an incident has just happened, and whatever information you've gotten, and if you can relay that information to that air support as quickly as possible, and air support is timely in getting into the air, they can start looking for that vehicle and indicating to the ground police officers on the ground, look, this is where we see X is going or Y is going.
But Richard, we had
but let's finish, Paul,
Mr. Jacob.
I just want to finish that point. Yeah, but one point connected to all of that is that you can only make a dent in crime when the criminal element feels with certainty that they're going to be caught.
Yes.
And that's not the case now. That's not the impression I have anyway.
Yeah.
Air support doesn't mean a helicopter in today's context.
Well, a helicopter has more range.
Yeah, but they have drones and they have police divisions all over the place. And they have drones that have a lot of range to be used specifically for law enforcement. But if they have to get trained to turn on a body cam, forget the drone. Because they need 2 years of training to turn on a body cam and keep it on. Okay? A body cam have audio, so where we going to the grocery now, you?
I mean, if drones are more cost-effective substitute to air support, then fine. But it has to prove that it can work.
Yeah.
Richard Ragobarsingh. If we fighting for 3 years to get them to wear body cams, you find drones is a big step. And dash cams. Drones is a big step, boy, onto you.
Dash cams is also
they must using Me Too or Razor flip phone. Because they don't know how to turn on a camera.
But as you're talking about that, I remember, I don't think it was earlier, Christopher, but maybe it was McDonald Jacob, because we have constantly brought up the issue of body cams on this program. And I remember, I think it was McDonald Jacob, and when we were talking to him about it, and he said that they were going through training.
Yes, and the policy was finished. And the policy was finished, and the regulations were done.
So they need further training beyond the training that they got then.
But they must get new body cams with new technology in it. Or the button and the shit must be new technology to open and close or to clip on the body cam.
And to put it back into the charger.
document to turn the on switch must be 6 pages long. Morning, Gavin.
Morning, Paul. Morning, Richard. Morning, Steve.
Your wife
Gavin.
Your wife banned you from the weed pictures.
The wife removed me from the phone.
You were fun.
She said
marijuana like substance.
She said that breakfast group. So she sent me back up in the office.
Yeah, go be in the office. Give me time next time. My copyright and my business thing. Anyway, good morning and thank you for joining us. Our question this morning is: are you hopeful that the crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago will be improved following the 2-day symposium on crime? So I'm posing it to you.
Yeah. To be quite truthful, and I've said it with you guys already, I am an optimist. Anything that you see working in the direction of trying to reduce crime is a step in the right direction. So I am hopeful. But can I say a but? I am hopeful, but we are hoping that out of the 2-day, with the declaration, there is a strong, immediate approach now for implementation on some of the key dynamics that were mentioned. So it can work, it will in fact produce results, but it just can't be a 2-day and stop. It has to be 2-day now, and the next phase, which is implementation, brainstorming, think tank, get into the room, work the thing that is now applicable to your area, to your threats, to your risks. So I have to say yes. Okay, let's hope that this thing will bring some results, but we have to measure efficiency. That's the new trend. We have to measure the efficiency of what comes out of this work.
I have said I think the 2-day conference was important, symbolically at least, because I think you cannot have a stronger message than the major leaders in the region coming together, which shows that they are they have acknowledged that crime is an existential threat to the region, to the survival of the economies of the region in particular, and they are willing to prioritize it by coming for a 2-day conference and showing that they are committed to finding solutions. I don't think anybody could argue with that. What I heard, because I went to both days, what I heard presented, that information to me was available already. We have Caribbean impacts, we have intelligence gathering, we have data gathering agencies, we have analyses, the focus on the root causes of crime in the various panel discussions. All that is available, all that has been discussed. We've had papers from the late Selman Ryan, Professor Ramesh Deosarant, and a plethora of criminologists and academics and practitioners who have spoken about, because crime in the region is not that far removed from crime in other parts of the world. There may be different driving factors because we have uniqueness in the region, but this is not new information. What you do with the information that to me has already existed and your approaches is what is going to make the difference, and that is what I'm willing to hear. Waiting and the implementation of those things on a consistent basis, as you said, a report and measurement of the success that we can feel as Caribbean citizens.
Yeah, I will guide you to my article tomorrow that speaks specific on some approaches that we can take regarding this whole public health issue and pandemic and stuff. But you're correct. You're on the right track, because maybe a clause or a subset of that declaration that was actually presented there in the release should have indicated implementation phase. The heads commit to an implementation phase in 2 weeks' time, where experts, heads meaning heads of security and academics, will come together to begin the formation of a structured implementation plan or implementation phase for some of the key deliverables, for want of a better term. That should have probably been included in the declaration. So what does it do? It gives us as the citizens, us as the gatekeepers, a sector or section in the declaration that we can now look at to measure what is going to happen. Because as it is there, a lot of people are now, okay, is this it? We're waiting to hear what happens now. What next? Exactly. What next?
Yeah.
Yes, we've talked about the whole aspect of the forensic thing, the harmonization. You heard some very good words. The magistrates and the jurisdiction, the whole within the jurisdiction, sharing of the expertise. Excellent. But sometimes you need to hear new things. What about a new thing that can happen that we could try? That out of the box mindset, as I said, that is needed.
A new thing is
not only for the police officers and law enforcement and intelligence agencies.
A new thing is what, for example, what
we talked about before. This is not the first time.
Yeah, but rotating judges or magistrates,
Yeah.
is not going to directly affect the crime levels that each island has. That's about the administration of the criminal justice system. But the issue of crime on the ground, and you're talking about thinking out of the box, Gavin. What suggestions would you have come up with within that regard?
I'm glad you asked that, but Richard, I wanted to get your endorsement. This is not the first time we talked about rotating our judges and judicial systems across the region, correct? I heard this before.
I'm not sure.
It came off the ground before. Yeah, it was. And I'll probably research and find the history of it. So, new thing that I would have suggested, I've done some research. I've looked at it. I actually would have had a conversation with Steve yesterday prior to the interview, and I said, you know, guys, I'm going to raise this. I'm going to use it as an opportunity to provide a solution. I think because we've been talking about, Paul, you lead on it quite often, the transnational organized crime that filters into counter narcotics, human trafficking, small arms and light weapons trade. We talked about that. The issues of corruption that has been softened by the word called facilitation. We talked about that. So what can we do? An entity, something new. I am strongly advocating. We have seen that there is a coming together of the leaders. We have seen that there's an important, strong approach to bridge the islands now as one Caribbean state. That sharing of the magistracy and all of the other stuff. Standardization of our leadership and decision making. So then let's standardize our crime fighting and introduce the possibility of the establishment of a CBI, the Caribbean Bureau of Investigations. What does this do? It parallels, because we want to work closer with the US. We want to pattern some of the things that they are doing and some of their working models. So then let's look at the model of the FBI and create a model for the region, Caribbean Bureau of Investigation, that has jurisdiction throughout all of the islands, is not aligned and obligated to the divisional police systems of these countries, because they have their work, they have their roles and responsibility, but the Caribbean Bureau of Investigations will have access throughout the region to be able to treat with crime, treat with certain levels of crime, investigate, arrest, and prosecute with the same sort of federal powers, I'll call that guardedly, that the US has, but across the region. I think that's a good place for us to look at. It's going to take some tweaking, screwing, tightening, shaving, and whatever.
I wonder what service provider you're using.
He dropped right out.
You are always in a snarky mood.
Me?
Yes. I wonder what provider he uses.
I changed 1-2 years ago. I have no problems now, you know. That's what I would say. Okay? I changed 1-2 years ago. I have no problems anymore.
What provider is he using?
Yeah. So did I fall.
Steve and I have the same provider now. Not so, Steve?
Mm-hmm. And I have no problems.
Yeah.
Before
they will cut you the day after you don't pay your bill. But yes, but if your service go down, they on top of the restorative game. But the other one, oh.
Yeah, boy. And the other one, like to me not to do it.
Hello, you're going over Lady Young. You're going over Lady Young. You're going Maracas.
True.
Hello, you're still there, Steve? Hello.
It's true.
But they have 90-something% coverage. They're able to give you coverage, but they have 90-something coverage. I ain't calling no name. I'm behaving myself.
Yeah, behave.
When Gavin was interrupted by the people who opposed the CBI, obviously.
Clearly, they send a bot. They send a bot to kick him off. But hopefully he got
kicked off. So we're trying to reconnect with Gavin.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting idea.
Talk to me about that.
Let's discuss that idea, Paul. Let's discuss that idea. The CBI, the Caribbean Bureau of Investigation, which is like a mirror of the FBI, of course, which is the internal investigation unit of federal crimes in the United States and certain other types of crimes in the United States, as distinct of the CIA, which is not supposed to operate within territory of the United States, but as an external unit of United States activities. But the CBI, do you think a CBI can work? Do you think a CBI can work? A Caribbean Bureau of Investigation?
In principle, we would have to, each of the jurisdiction would have to agree on the harmonization of their laws to facilitate that. Because they share information already, but they have to harmonize some aspects of the law in each jurisdiction to facilitate that, because it would mean that agents can move from island to island or jurisdiction to jurisdiction and have particular powers.
Yep.
You understand? I'm not sure that all the jurisdictions want that. It would mean a kind of federal situation where investigative powers are concerned. And as you know, investigative powers are shrouded in legal safeguards for obvious reasons. So it can work. But if we can't even get everybody involved with the CCJ, think of the kind of stretch that is.
But isn't that kind of less of a stretch?
But I don't know because of the
Okay, let me explain what I mean. In other words, the CCJ can be a little remote from the average Caribbean citizen.
True.
The average Caribbean citizen is not necessarily thinking, I want my
But they have
master's
to go to the
before
CCJ.
yeah, that I want to get my master's before the CCJ. But they are very connected to the crime situation. In every single island, there is concern about the crime situation. So that if you had a unit called the Caribbean Bureau of Investigations that is operating, well, across treating the Caribbean, English-speaking Caribbean, or CARICOM, let me say CARICOM, as one space, I think populations would go behind that.
Yeah,
If it is that they felt that the unit is going to make a difference.
Right. Let's look at our situation in Trinidad and Tobago. There is an incident happens involving officers. You have the police, you have the interagency task force, which sometimes in conflict with ordinary police in some situations. You have the police complaints authority, which has certain investigative powers, and we have conflicts within those, the Professional Standards Bureau. You understand? Sometimes investigating the same thing. Yesterday, the DPP, I asked a question about, he said the officer of the DPP has no investigative powers. I asked, do you think that will work in certain situations? Because in some situations, he said very few, the police fall short in terms of providing.
Well, the police service is the investigative unit for the DPP, yeah?
Yeah, but he said in some cases, he thought that the DPP's office should have a unit that can, for example, he said the police are not particularly great, and I'm trying to be very fair here in paraphrasing what he said, in financial forensic investigations. You understand? So when you're looking at white collar crime, they're not as up to mark as they could or should be. So when you're prosecuting, and white collar crime prosecutions are very complex, as you would know. So if you don't have the expertise reposed in the police service, you need, he said in specific cases, he would be an advocate of that DPP having that kind of remit for those cases. Not all, because he said by and large the police do a decent job in many cases. So think of that widen to the Caribbean now, and the kinds of jurisdictional conflicts that can arise with different police service, and them understanding you have to give way to a federal type investigative CBI in cases that may involve politicians and police themselves. You understand?
Well, everything is a creature of statute. So if you have the legislative backing, they will have no choice but to accept it. But I get it.
The police complaints authority has this the legislative backing, and they still call them 6 hours after the crime scene.
Who's this?
Is the police complaints authority? David West is on record as saying that.
But David West is also on record as saying that the PCA needs to have more legislative teeth. And that,
yes, but right now, the police are supposed to call the PCA, and the police involved shooting, for example. They're supposed to call the PCA as soon as possible to gather evidence to do the investigation of somebody. When you call the PCA, oh, we have a shooting, police involved shooting in X area, and you call them 4 hours after. You understand? So while there are legislative provisions in place, they don't always follow to the letter of the lawyer.
Right, and there should be accountability for that. And,
I agree.
And that's the problem. There is no accountability for that. So therefore, you can get away with it.
I want to ask you, welcome back, Gavin. Do identify a service provider, because we done found them already.
Yeah, I really don't know what went on there. Maybe somebody wanted or didn't want us to speak.
We suggested that.
That's what we said.
Too.
The CIA say that man talking thing that we want him talk, they cut him off. Press the button. So you were talking about a potential Caribbean Bureau of Investigation. Continue, please.
Yeah, because I'm saying there's a need for some sort of entity that has the ability, the authority, and more importantly, support of all of the heads of CARICOM to treat with crime in the region. And that is crime at all levels, or at the levels that when they sit down to brainstorm it, maybe this unit, this establishment, this institution has the power and the authority to address certain types of crime, certain transnational organized crime levels, that can also be discussed. Our conversation this morning is, let's raise something out of the box that we haven't talked about that could probably be done. Why? Because there's a cry. There's a cry to treat with certain levels of crime. Yes, we're dealing with home invasions and robberies and shootings and as we saw yesterday, it happened by the stadium, the whole level of crime in the country. But remember, that is linked to weapons being imported, drugs being exported, money being moved, human beings being trafficked. So there are some mega fallouts of the small thing we're seeing on the ground. And therefore, maybe an entity like the Caribbean Bureau of Investigations can operate throughout the islands, because you're saying, okay, yeah, but what about Trinidad? Yes, so you'll have an office in Trinidad representing members of the CBI, and the thing about it is that they will be from all of the islands. So it's Trinidadians dealing with Trinidadian issues. You'll have a sort of mix. That is what takes place at that type of level. Look at what we're seeing here on the screen. How can we start dealing with all of this? We have to have a unit that can treat with some of these things and treat with it in a way that will bring results. And I'm saying it eases some of the strain off of the divisional police system that will work in tandem, but there will be a certain amount of authority.
But how do you, because the FBI, of course, has, if you're looking at the United States situation, their remit is particularly specified as per what type of crime, and within, of course, a much larger space. How would a CBI system work in a Trinidad and Tobago context with regard to the overlapping that is not necessarily going to occur with regard to local police forces dealing with, let's say, like this shooting that we're seeing taking place here? Is this a TTPS investigation, or is this a CBI investigation in how you see it working?
And I see it as maybe it can be both. When the police system is there, they will have to do their initial investigations, crime scene, that type of stuff, and then the CBI can definitely take over, because recognize, wait a minute, this was not just an assassination, this was linked to some sort of narcotics issue. This was linked probably to something that is bigger and affiliated to one of the other islands. Maybe it's part of the gun trade, we don't know. So I'm saying now the CBI will be a force multiplier at a different level, linking directly with our international partners at an international best practice. And it is needed, because as it is now, we know that the police systems are strained and they are also restricted in certain levels of investigation. There's a long wait along those lines. When the CBI steps on the scene, we know, okay, it's now a Caribbean Bureau of Investigations. They're taking over, they're handing over. The police is working in tandem, because the police works in tandem with the FBI. Yes, we have some territorial issues, and you'll find that. But we can work we can shave those things and work it out in the room to see how it can be best applied. I am just bringing a solution. I may not have all the working parts tightening the screws in all the areas at this point, but those are things, as you raised, those are things that can be worked out in discussions as to the level of jurisdiction that this CBI will have. And it's a conversation, really, at this point.
Yeah. How receptive do you think? Yeah, how receptive do you think local police forces across the Caribbean would be to a suggestion like that? Because you have some level of interaction with security officials across the Caribbean. So how receptive do you think other Caribbean islands are going to be in terms of the security infrastructure to some suggestion or recommendation like that?
Well, I know there wouldn't be open arms. Nobody's going to bake a cake and roll out the DJ and celebrate. They're not going to have that. You're going to have some resistance. You're going to have some territorialism. People are going to hug things to their chest. They're coming to do our job, along that line, like they want we walk, we can go down that road. We've seen that. But I think good public awareness, because local police officers will be aware of what we're talking about. It may be an opportunity for local police officers, not only Trinidad, but throughout the islands, to apply. It will be an opportunity to recruit good officers and investigators to form up this thing. So there's a career opportunity here too. And it also will provide for our young, bright Caribbean nationals to pursue a career in law enforcement, to come in as new agents where you can actually train them and mold them to be like how we have the FBI agents, the CBI, or you can pull people from the military, and just it's the same model that is used for the recruitment. So they're going to have resistance. I know that, and this is expected. But it's a transformation and it's a change, and there will always be resistance. We have to be able to counter that resistance so it works for and not against.
Yeah.
But that's on the output end of crime, if I can, the end of the continuum when the crime has already occurred, and you have command and control and law enforcement stepping in. What about the discussions about, and to me this is the more important part, or the equally important part, about the drivers, the shortcomings in the education system, the social inequities that Dr. Ralph Gonzalez tried to minimize, which I found was maybe diplomatically correct, an unfortunate comment, because poverty and social inequity is a major driver of crime. And dealing with those issues as a region, because we have CXC across the region, but that doesn't mean that each island's education system is equal or is performing at the same level. And we have a situation in Trinidad and Tobago, because we are here, where we have ignored the 2,000 to 2,500 falling through the cracks between the primary and secondary school level, and don't understand that if they are not finishing even a basic secondary education, that you're going to have problems with them assimilating in society and being productive. And that is the ones that drop out the system. What about the ones who actually complete the 5 years, write CSEC, and end up with very poor academic performance, and also are going to have challenges assimilating in society and providing for themselves? What about the focus on white-collar crime as a driver? So it's easy to deal with the command and the control issues and managing the street and the detection. Well, I shouldn't say it easy. It's easy to focus on that. But what about the social issues and educational issues and structural inequalities that are continuing to contribute to crime across the region?
Yeah, correct. That is producing.
And that is each item having to do with the economy and the structure of the economy. That is even more complex.
The socio-economic fabric is producing the criminal. That's what basically, because these young men are then struggling out of school, out of employment, and running down a life of crime. Again, it's a mindset and it's an ideology, and you're correct. And I'm saying that we have to have a holistic view, and therefore I know there was one of the clauses in the declaration that spoke about education, that spoke about the youth and youth development. To some extent, I don't have all the correct words here, but it's also a major part of the implementation phase, to show that there is a linkage, there is a connectivity between the education of our young men and women and the preparation of them for life after, be it in the aspect of trade and the community aspect of it, or even from an academic aspect, career-wise. So yes, there is an issue there, and there might be a fallout, because what is attracting all of these young men to go wipe windshields on the highway? Why that? Why not something else? Why not a trade? Why not working an 8 hours a day job? Why does it have to end up like that? Because it reflects and it spells a certain amount of deficiency. So that is a major focus, I agree. And research and development, you heard me say that before, research and development plays an important role, and link it with our academic institutions, the universities. There needs to be a big research taking place, teams working on what can be solutions that we can bring to the table to fix the socio-economic fabric. You're correct.
I hear you and I hear what Paul said, but it's a difficult fix in a sense, because a lot of it is directed by what I would refer to as the political elite having the willpower to transform systems in a particular way, and some of it may involve a certain amount of radical change in a system that's that still has some legacy items post 1962. So So how are you motivating ministers of education and ultimately cabinets? Speaking as if we're talking across the Caribbean, but let's confine it to Trinidad and Tobago. How do you get them to be transformational? And I remember I told Paul earlier this week, and I think it was Nelson Mandela that says, if you want to change the world, you have to change the education system. But we're seeing, even though curriculum may change from time to time, we seem very slow moving in terms of transforming aggressively and morphing aggressively the education system to suit the needs of 2023. Up to now, and this is a conversation, Gavin, I've had with ministers of education dating back to Tim Gopi Singh, Anthony Garcia. The issue of how competitive are we on a global scale with regard to education, the issue of coding in primary schools.
Correct.
Which is something that is now years old in places like England, etc. We still are yet to implement. I remember when I asked Anthony Garcia about that, he told us what? He told me schools have computer labs. That was the reply, or something along that line, and which is missing the fundamental issue of how competitive you are globally, because we are no longer in just a territorial space that is confined to our borders in the Caribbean Sea. The world is moving to a global industrial market in terms, and more, and as AI gets better, certain jobs are going to become more and more obsolete. How much are
certain jobs are going to open up for people who are trained.
Exactly. Yeah. So how much are we thinking ahead of the curve in how globally competitive our citizens are, especially the younger ones coming through our education system? And I don't think that mindset. I remember at the time with Tim Gopi Singh, it was at the same time the English Minister of Education was touring China and Japan, etc., and other countries in Asia, Singapore, etc., to find out what was the issue with regard to how their education system was doing better than the English system, to find out what they were doing, because they felt it was important to have that data to analyze it against the English system.
Correct.
Nothing like that takes place in Trinidad, at least as far as I'm aware.
And it goes back to Paul's point. There are some fundamental and immediate. The immediate, we know we have crime, we have issues, we have situations, we have fear. But the fundamental drawdown on that, the source, SOURCE, that is pushing some of these issues, is that sort of fragmented educational system where research-driven results, statistics have proven where we need help. And maybe the same sort of fervency that the crime symposium was held has to now be to shift and focus probably on education, because education is important.
That's a very good idea.
Say again?
An education symposium is a very good idea to show that the importance of that in dealing with social issues.
Yeah, because we have seen, and I think Richard said a great thing there, competitively in the global scenario, we have been there years back where we matched that sort of intellect and academic in the global stage, but the world evolved incrementally. And what happened to our educational system? Let's just draw the analogy. We qualified once for a World Cup and we celebrated, gave house to everybody, but did we prepare to qualify for the next World Cup? You understand what I'm saying? So the thing is, at one time we qualified in parallel academically, but what were we doing while they were developing? It's like the West Indies cricket team.
But so it's not even that. In addition to that, we are still producing great academics and great scholars, but they are leaving in droves because they're frustrated here.
Of course, there's a brain drain, but there are few bright people getting the scholarships and doing that. But I'm saying. And Richard's point is what is all about. How do we give the average struggling student an opportunity to learn and develop, not only academically, but educationally? And people think when you say education is academic, no, educational is development of the mind, and it could be entrepreneurial, it could be trade, it could also be academic. So how
there's a subconscious mindset in this country that we've not gotten past yet, that people who don't do well academically are lazy And we used to use the old word duncy long time. It's not used anymore. And the intellectually inferior, there are entire school districts that are doing poorly in this country, whole schools, and that doesn't speak to student performance. It speaks to system performance. When more than 50% of a class does badly, is the teacher at fault?
Yeah.
When 3 or 4 schools are doing badly in a district, is the system at fault? But we like to look at the person because it's easier to blame the child.
Correct.
And we're not understanding there's something we're not doing to reach that child or that learner. You understand? So we are happy. Former Mr. Garcia was happy to tell me that SCA is a placement exam. So once you make 40%, you move to secondary school. But you know what 40% means? You're an educator, Gavin. What does 40% mean? Or 40% or between 30 and 40% mean in terms of academic performance? It means, in a really simplistic sense, you are not even...
You're not there yet.
Okura with half of the content to put you in a competitive position, but you're moving on to new material, but you ain't really mastered the primary school material yet, yeah? So what happens, and every term you get more material that you're not ready for. So by the second form, you're frustrated, and the system is telling you you're a failure when the system didn't get you ready for the new material. But it's easy to put a fail and say you're lazy.
Yeah.
Add to that, poor nutrition, family discord. In some instances, family unable to send you to school every day because of economic challenges. And you're making a perfect storm.
Yeah. No, you're correct. And you see, then we have, we're not blaming teachers, but you have teachers who are just there to pull a shift. That's not really what they want to do, but it's the only job they can get. Yeah, exactly. Salary. And then you have a system that they're depending on to build the curriculum, to structure the thing for they to be able to produce and we have an issue, we have an imbalance. So I'm strongly advocating, in case somebody was closing the fridge door and they missed it, a symposium on education is important and parallel to the symposium on treating with crime, because it builds a foundation for development of our people that can prevent them from choosing the crime and having to face the consequences when there are other options of development that will protect and prevent and deter them from making that sort of decision.
This conversation about prestige school versus state administered school and the better performance traditionally of denominational schools, and understanding that there's something the denominational schools are doing that the state administered school is not doing as well, and how we could re-engineer the concordat to fix that. Because if I can send my child to any school and my child has a fair chance of performing well, I wouldn't care if my child go to a so-called prestige school.
Correct.
Because my child will be treated in a particular way to develop them properly and achieve their potential.
Yeah.
But because people know that the denominational/prestige schools give your child a better education generally, a better educational opportunity anyway, that's what you're fighting for. And everybody else fight up as they want. Because in the back of our mind in this country, we still are so stratified and accept, we like the stratification.
But I will add one thing to Paul.
We subconsciously enjoy saying, my child better than yours, and my house better than yours, and my area better than yours. And that is all your problem, is not we problem. But guess what? Crime is now everybody problem.
On your doorsteps. On your doorsteps.
Whether you feel you're a big shot or not,
crime
is now, that is one thing that we all face in the same way every day, even if you're in a gated community, sadly.
Crime is not a respect of status, definitely.
No,
and although you talked about the prestige school, what we have seen is the brand management, the brand management and that sort of aspect with the prestige school. There are a lot of stuff happening in the background that is not out there in the public. That
in
is
the prestige schools, yes.
Exactly.
Oh, yes.
Creating in the public system. But because my child is going to a certain school, there is still not a brand and image and status. When in fact,
brand status associated.
Exactly, they're more exposed to a lot of stuff, probably more than the public system, but brand management is protecting that. There are firewalls so that the brand remains prestige.
Gavin, we should have opened the phone lines. My apologies. I know you've always been here to take calls because people are usually wanting to contribute. 222-TALK, 222-8255, 612-8255, and toll free for North Americans, 525-1099. I know you're in the East, I think, Gavin, and there's a play called The Little Piggies coming, so Richard can tell you about it while we wait for the calls. I gave him a cue there.
This little piggy is tired.
Richard know how I collect my tickets at a certain gate in a certain area. So that's
He
fine.
does. But this little piggy is tired. It's on at Cipriani College next week, Saturday and Sunday.
You see how okay up there? You see what cue that
of
for
course,
you?
it's the final performances, the round of final performances for this play. So it's on next week, Saturday and Sunday at Cipriani College.
All right, let's grab this call. Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning, caller.
All the gentlemen.
Morning, Zena.
Here my input. Now, I like the direction Paul took and the direction that he's stressing on. What I want to suggest, because it's just talk shop and everybody talking, I want to suggest something here. You see, the crime we saw within a day after that symposium, you saw the rampage these young men went on. I realized we have to take those youths off the street immediately. The school, all the school dropouts, and I know of a few who parents told me that after the COVID, the children said they're not going back to school. So I don't know how we're addressing that. But
Let me give you an example. I visited, it's germane to that. I visited an early childhood care center yesterday, and the principal of the school said she had not seen children for 2 years since the pandemic.
And
oh, wow.
This is where the crack is. Because you can't tell me that you have a list, names of children coming to your school. They have their parents' names and their addresses. Somebody has to, I don't know if it's school social workers. You have to let them know, listen, this is a list of children who we did not see reappear to school, right? You have to bring in the parents, you have to call, you have to, whether it's to send out social workers, whatever, you have to compile a list. The ministry has to get that, and they have to get it quick. Who are the dropouts? And while they're doing that, to find out that, police have to be out there and picking up. There are lots of corners in different villages where young men gather to line and to plan their strategy to rob, get cars, and go to do banditry. So I am saying that with all that they talk and all what has to be done, the immediate step now is to get those idle youths off the street. You are working, come here. You're going in some workshop somewhere where they're establishing, and they have to do it and do it like yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you, Zeno.
Thanks, Zeno. Yeah, she said there were 10 students who she had not seen for 2 years since the pandemic. This is 3 to 5 year olds who are supposed to be preparing to go into primary school.
Correct.
When she took the initiative and the parents said they have the money, the pandemic decimate them, and they homeschooling. But the children, that is 10 students who not even prepared for primary school.
Yeah, we have another call. Good morning.
Yeah, morning, Richard.
Morning.
Ragobarsingh for Richard, Wendell, everybody. Morning. Mr. Darren Miral, morning.
Morning.
What up, Mr. Patrick?
It's that a guy used to be on the radio some years back, Mohammed Shabazz. We used to be talking about the same situation that you far back. I called him and I told him, I said, crime don't discriminate gender, it don't discriminate race, it don't discriminate political affiliation, it don't discriminate against who have financial status or who poor. Crime is business with who is who. You understand?
Yep.
But at the end of the day, we treat crime as a political football. We blame this government, we blame that government, and we blame everybody. I was watching some news this week here in the United States of America. A young lady driving a driveway, they shoot she and kill she. Some young ladies, come from some game or something, they went in the wrong car, they shoot them and kill them. The fella went to open the door to pick up his sibling. The man shoot him. Right now, there's a shooting thing going on in certain countries in the world. And the influx of the American culture in Trinidad and Tobago, like 50 cents and them, get rich quick could die trying and the bling bling and the flash flash. Some of them fellas, as I say, educated and all. I remember I talked to two young guys and they tell me, listen, them boy are A levels, but they're not going to work for 10 and $12,000. They say they go pay themselves. I say, oh, you pay yourself. He said, with this, I'm gone.
Thanks, Mr. Patrick. Gavin, closing words. We are the time.
Yeah.
Closing words.
Thanks, Mr. Patrick.
All right.
Yeah. I'm thankful for the conversation. Thanks again, Mr. Patrick. It's a great point because yes, we see the infiltration of the American culture influencing the desire to bring and for fast money. I strongly advocate for some consideration based on the declarations to drill into probably the establishment of the Caribbean Bureau of Investigations. And again, in parallel, let us also have a strong CARICOM symposium on education that can standardize the reason why we have a deficient educational system that is preventing the development of our young people.
All right. Thank you so much, Gavin Hira, for being our guest this morning on the Power Breakfast Show. All right. Let's get into